It's time once again for an update from the city of Maple Grove, and the Maple Grove Report is coming your way. Along with Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us once again. We are virtual again today as we are on a snowy day. Heidi, welcome, and we should probably start with the snow. Here we are on the 23rd. How are things looking out of your window in Maple Grove?
Pretty snowy today,
Yes.
but we're hopeful the roads will do okay. The guys were out and pre-treated the roads last night in advance, and they're going to stay and kind of keep the mains cleared here through the afternoon. With these changing temperatures and going from rain, sleet to snow, you can get things frozen up pretty quick here. So hopefully keep those mains clear, and then we'll do a full plow overnight. So hoping that we can get the roads all cleared up before Christmas Eve. So.
Sounds great. We'll drive safely out there. Our recap is of the December 21st meeting. It was about 39 minutes in length. There was a work session before that meeting with 4 main topics. Let's touch on those if we can, Heidi. The first was the Historical Society expansion. I know this has been talked about for some. Give us a little recap of what's been talked about and the action that was taken at the work session or recommendations there.
Sure. So you're right. We have talked about the expansion of the historical museum up at the Public Works facility in the past. It kind of, again, got shelved due to COVID, like many things. And so then kind of picking it back up here for discussion, the potential to start that construction project likely in the spring. We had come back to the council with sort of a revised proposal that sort of repurposed some of the internal spaces at Public Works versus adding on to the building, and the council was supportive of that. So the direction was to proceed to start to prepare some plans and specs such that that project could be bid and go forward in the spring. So you'll see action coming forward on that one in the coming weeks.
We will keep people up to date. Next item at the work session that was discussed is organics recycling. Tell us what this might mean for Maple Grove residents.
Yeah, so by 2022 in Hennepin County, we're required to establish an organics recycling program in every city. And so we have talked about this with the council in the past, but it's kind of the date is getting closer here. And so how we wanted to proceed with that. And there's, a number of cities that have taken a different approach to this with establishing kind of their own organics program, similar to how we do recycling. Some of them are doing, a co-mingling program with the organic recycling goes into the garbage in kind of a separate bag type of thing. And so that is really kind of the approach that we're looking to take, is that co-mingling and then requiring all of our current haulers to provide that service. We have communicated that to them on their last couple licensing renewals, so it shouldn't be a surprise. And, every hauler is dealing with this in Hennepin County. So that organics recycling program will get implemented in 2022. And then it's really up to the individual homeowner or resident in terms of how they want to participate with their hauler. But it will be a requirement that every hauler provides that service by 2022.
Last item that was discussed had to do with utilities and stormwater utilities. Another part of water utilities was to be discussed, but time was a little bit short. Tell us about stormwater. What's the discussion there?
Yeah, so this is kind of a new topic that we've been brought forward to the council to kind of start provide them some background about the obligations the city will have in the coming years in terms of managing our stormwater system. A lot of it has to do with the stormwater retention ponds that are out there and the maintenance that will be required on those ponds in the years to come. So we had talked with them about the potential to create a stormwater utility and a fee associated with that residents and business owners would contribute to or pay into to help cover the costs associated with maintaining the stormwater system in Maple Grove. Today, we have a capital fund that really gets funded by development, but in terms of that ongoing operations and maintenance, today the general fund carries some of that burden, but those costs, as we continue to age as a community, and a lot of those ponds are starting to come into the time where they're going to need maintenance. We're looking at this additional fee structure. So council was supportive of continuing to look at this. There will be more kind of education process, community outreach about this program and understanding kind of the why behind it and what work will need to be completed in the coming years to make sure that our stormwater system is sound. So more information to come, but a good opportunity to visit with the council about kind of what the outstanding obligations are and how we
Mhm.
might want to look at funding those.
And the other item, again, that was not covered at this meeting, but will come up at a future meeting is water utility rates. So taking a look at that. So we'll bring that information to you as it
Yes.
comes. Now to the agenda from the 21st, one item pulled from consent that had to do with police culture assessment. And this
Yeah.
is, I understand, a little bit broader issue at the city. Tell us a little bit about the background and what the discussion was at the meeting on the 21st.
Yeah, sure. So this was an agreement with a consultant to come in and do some kind of organizational assessment work for us in the police department. So there just was some questions about kind of how the process will work, what the timeline for that work is going to be. We do anticipate starting that work here after the first of the year, and it probably wrapping up kind of in the first quarter of 2021, with some discussion being brought back to the council. So that agreement was approved to move forward with that work. Then following that discussion.
One item came in on the open forum related to property taxes and gives you a good opportunity to mention a little bit about that process and what is coming up as far as the Board of Appeal.
Yeah. Yeah. So just a question about, how property taxes are increased in certain areas or neighborhoods versus others. And so our city assessor is going to, respond to those types of inquiries. But I think it was a good opportunity to remind folks that, coming here in the spring, in April, we will have our Board of Appeal meetings, which
Mhm.
is the time to come in and talk with the council about the valuation of your property. It's also a good time, to talk with the city assessing staff. They're always available to you about kind of how the process of assessing values in the community is done. There's a lot of it's a very technical process, and so I think sometimes just kind of reaching out and having those discussions to help
Mhm.
understand, how values grow across the city is good. So watch for those Board of Appeal dates. They're coming up here in April, and you'll get some notices about that valuation, and then an opportunity to talk with staff or the council about that valuation that's
Very
been
good.
assigned.
One public hearing at the meeting on the 21st that had to do with a off-sale liquor license, and this is for a familiar business, Lunds and Byerly's. What is happening
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, so this was the public hearing for the off-sale intoxicating liquor license for Lund Beverages LLC, doing business as Lund's and Byerly's Wine and Spirits. And so they just had a corporate name structure change that they
Mhm.
needed to process. And, anytime there's a name change or something like that, you have to kind of go through the process again and reissue that liquor license in the new corporate structure name. So kind of a procedural item, nothing changing about their business there, but we were able to get that new license issued for them then as part of that agenda.
One item under community development, we have talked about this in the past. It is moving its way through the process. This is Hy-Vee Fresh or Fast and Fresh, looking to locate over by the Wahlburgers area. Tell us a little bit about the discussion that happened here and what the final decision was.
Yeah, so this Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh is a kind of a expanded convenience store type offering. If you've been to the store out at 101 and Bass Lake Road, they have one of these kind of out in front of the store, but it's kind of a convenience grocery store, gas station type option. And this is being proposed for the south, kind of the southeast corner, far southeast corner of the village there. So just kind of directly across from the fountains. And so there was some discussion about, I think in the past, there had been proposals in the past for kind of a full big box grocery store there. And the council at the time really didn't want to see that kind of big box type user over there.
Mhm.
And there was some question as to whether, gas stations had been prohibited on this site, that kind of a thing. And I think it was more council concern about what kind of development was going to occur there.
Sure.
So when Hy-Vee brought this forward, we weren't sure, I think when we last visited, we talked about how this one would be received. But I think the changes that we've seen in the area in terms of the residential that's just to the north, the number of apartments, the hotel, there isn't a lot of convenience type services here kind of in the downtown area, the Main Street, over to the Arbor Lakes area. And so there was an openness to this type of a use, high quality building. So the materials will really reflect kind of the quality of that, the retail area there on the south side of the village. And, this certainly will be a nice convenience item for the folks that live nearby, being
Sure.
able to stop by and grab a glass or a gallon of milk or whatever it is, and they have some of their fast, fresh meals, that you can pick up and prepare at home, kind of a thing there as well. So this one got approval. Some discussion about the architecture. They did add some more windows to the building, some nice brick materials, that kind of thing. So you'll likely see this construction probably come through in the spring.
Couple updates then of what's looking forward on community development. The Planning Commission has a meeting coming up on the 11th. Tell us about a couple of the items there, and also about a change in some of the leadership to the Planning Commission.
Yeah, so January 11th agenda will include the final PUD approvals for the Edgewater at Cook Lake. If you'll remember, this is a 58-unit single-family rental project kind of out on the far west side of town. And then Rice Lake Elementary is doing an addition. This is kind of part of the school district's facility planning that they're doing to accommodate growth in the district. And so you'll see those two projects in front of the Planning Commission on January 11th. And then our long-serving Planning Commission Chair, Larry Colson, is going to be leaving the Planning Commission. He leaves very big shoes to fill there. And so we're sorry to see Larry go, but he's moving on to his next chapter in life. And so we're going to be honoring Larry formally at the January 19th meeting. So you'll see that come back, recognizing Larry's very long-serving role on the Planning Commission in the city. So
very, very nice. Yes. And while that was mentioned, it was also mentioned, I understand there's a couple other openings on commissions in the city. So this will be a process as you begin the next year to look at filling a few spots. I believe Arbor was one of the other ones. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have our vacancies. Well, we'll have the Planning Commission, Arbor Committee, and Lake Quality. I think those are the boards and commissions that have some vacancies. So we'll be out recruiting for those here in the coming weeks.
Moving ahead to Public Works, I understand the city of Maple Grove has been offering a helping hand to the city of Osseo. Tell us what that helping hand has been.
Yeah, so we had a request from Osseo to help out with some public works functions. They had a few folks that were affected by COVID, and so they aren't a very big crew over there. And so we were able to help them out with some of their utility functions that need to be attended to every day, water testing, lift stations, those kinds of things. Luckily, we didn't have any big snow events during this time, but always good to be able to help out a neighbor. And I think they're all doing well. So good to have that service done.
Good to hear. One other item that was discussed is the 610 project and some funding, which is somewhat of a regular topic. What's the latest news we've heard? And I understand the news is changing here as we speak today.
Yeah, so the federal the new coronavirus or COVID Act or funding that's coming through from the feds did include about $10 billion for highway improvements. And so we would look, to see where those funds were going to come through, whether it was through, we have applied twice for the federal build grant application. That's a funding program that would be a great fit for 610. And so if some of those dollars get allocated out to that fund, we would chase those again, or if there's a new program that gets established with this funding. But I'm not sure, I haven't heard the news after this morning where things were standing. I know there was a little disagreement between the administration and Congress, so we'll see how that story ends on that coronavirus aid package, and it was the continuing resolution for the funding for government as well, so there was a lot of other things in there as well, but good to see some of this highway investment stimulus type projects that could move some construction projects forward in the state of Minnesota.
We will keep residents up to date as that moves ahead. You had a few updates on the meeting on the 21st related to the legislative agenda and services agreement. Give us a little overview of what was talked about.
Yeah, so as you'll recall, and we talked about 610, in the last legislative session, we were successful in getting bonding funds from the state for both 610 as well as for the North Metro Range Law Enforcement Training Facility expansion. And so we're kind of shifting gears on our legislative agenda for this year and shifting to our community center expansion renovation. That project from a planning perspective is a bit on hold, but we want to get started working on some of the financial finance options for that project. And so looking at some state tax policy items as well as some bonding potential for that project. And we don't have an exact time frame on that yet because we're not sure when, we'll pick that project back up. But some of these things can take several years to get established at the legislature. And so we're going to kick off that work this year to start address some of those issues, and continuing our work with Lockridge Grindle now, and Ann Lincheski is our lobbyist down at the Capitol, and so we'll continue that good work there and shift our focus to the community center.
Very good. And you had a final bit of good news for the frontline workers within the city. The vaccine is on its way.
Yeah, so we got notice from Hennepin County Emergency Management that they're going to be rolling out vaccinations for some of our first responders, so police and fire here in Maple Grove. They're going to be coordinating that kind of on a regional basis within the county, and so the week between Christmas and New Year's, we could start seeing that happen kind of on a rotating, rolling basis, not everybody at the same time.
Right.
In case, people get a little sick or something, we want to make sure, that's attended to. So good to see that coming through for our staff, and we'll continue to monitor that as it goes forward.
And finally, on December 21st, there was a short EDA meeting to cover items that were all on consent, but some important items. Give us a recap of that quick meeting.
Yeah, so a couple budget items, no big changes this year, or actually no changes this year. We levy on an annual basis $150,000 for our HRA EDA functions, and primarily that has to do with our various housing programs supporting that, our scattered site housing program, and then the senior housing fund budget for Woodland Mounds, which is our senior housing facility that we own, and then we just processed a transfer on a TIF agreement for a project that's being sold here in Maple Grove. So kind of some procedural items there as well.
So that meeting again with the EDA and the council, about 39 minutes on the 21st. We'll give you more information about the next meeting in just a few minutes. But now let's hop around town and find out some of the other things that are happening. And first, with the holidays upon us, we've got some differences in schedules of buildings and buses throughout the city. Give us that rundown.
Yeah, so city offices will be closed as of noon on Thursday, December 24th, and then, of course, all day on Friday, December 25th, and then all day on Friday, January 1st. We will be here all day on New Year's Eve, December 31st. And then our transit schedules have been adjusted for holiday service, and we have those updated schedules available on the website. Just of note, there's no transit service on Friday, December 25th, or on Friday, January 1st.
And as we're recording this on the 23rd, if you're watching in one of the early runnings, you might have time for this, something fun happening in the community on the 24th. Get out your musical talent. Is that right, Heidi?
Yeah, so on December 24th, the Maple Grove Community Organization invites everyone to join with their neighbors and loved ones in bringing cheer to Maple Grove. So residents are encouraged to step outside on Christmas Eve, so December 24th at 6 p.m., and ring bells, sing, or play an instrument for 2 minutes, and hopefully you can hear that throughout your neighborhoods. I think it's just a kind of they've done some of this in support of the healthcare workers in various communities over the pandemic here. So this is just kind of a great way to bring neighborhoods together and get out and bring some cheer to the community.
So you don't have to go anywhere. You just step outside your house and have at it. All right.
And you don't have to register. You don't have to sign up. It's free.
Sounds fun.
Yes.
Let's talk about Shop with a Cop, a great annual event that happens. Tell us about the good tidings that were shared this year.
Yeah, so we certainly had to take a different approach to Shop with the Cop this year, and usually it's a big festive gathering event with kids and the members of the law enforcement, and Walmart, of course, continues to be a great community partner on this event. But this year that was not to be, so we took a bit of a different approach, and police department staff went out and we identified the kids that we were going to work with this year, and the police department went out and shopped based on some lists that they were given, came back to the department, wrapped those gifts, and then delivered those gifts out to those families.
Right.
And there was an opportunity for a bit of interaction there as they dropped off the gifts, and they dropped off some pizza and that kind of a thing. And of course, this is all part of our efforts to really kind of engage with the community and create those relationships between youth and the community and law enforcement. So I think the event turned out as good as it could be for a pandemic year.
Hats off to all those involved. New businesses coming to town as the year ends here. Take us through the list of some of the places people can now visit or soon visit.
Yeah, so we have a new Crumble Cookies, and that's located over at the Fountains of Arbor Lakes. They had their ribbon cutting. The chamber was out to help them with that. They serve gourmet cookies right out of the oven, as well as cold milk and gourmet ice cream options. So that all sounds really wonderful. And then
Yes.
we have another Taco Bell that's just opened up kind of right across from the hospital up there in the Grove area. Only drive-through open right now, of course,
Sure.
as with all businesses, but they're open for business. And then a couple new businesses coming to the shops at Arbor Lake. So Cycle Gear, this is a high-end retailer featuring accessories for those interested in motorcycling, and they are open in that newly renovated kind of that center
Sure.
court area. And this is a national retailer that's chosen another home here. They have
Okay.
another location at the Southdale Center. So that's kind of an exciting one. And then Minnesota Play Cafe, and this is going to be over kind of in between where the Parks and Recreation studio space is and Biaggi's, and they are relocating from Champlin, and it offers indoor creative play opportunities for children. And I do think they are going to be opening here, and they'll have COVID protocols and that kind of a thing, but this will be a nice addition to the community as well.
Great. Welcome to all those businesses. Let's move over to Main Street, and something is underway that you're looking for input from the public. Tell us about the Main Street survey.
Yeah, so we've talked. We're taking a look at Main Street. There's a public improvement project to be had there. We've got some issues with some of the crosswalk areas. If you walk in that area, you've noticed that the pavers are kind of breaking apart, that kind of a thing. Main Street is over 20 years old now, and so we do kind of get after streets on a frequent basis here. And 20 years is a long time, so we need to take a look at that public improvement project. But also, we wanted to make sure we took a look at that segment of road just from a streetscape perspective, and think about what does Main Street want to be for the next 20 years. We know there's going to be some transition of use out there, maybe less boutiques, more service food type offerings, opportunities for outdoor dining, that kind of a thing. So we're really going to be kind of taking a look at that, and we're interested in feedback from the community. We're certainly working with those specific stakeholders there in terms of the property owners and the tenants that live in those spaces, but we're interested in hearing from the community about that. So mgmainstreet.com, but if you go to the city website too, you can link to that. There's just great ways to provide some input about what you'd like to see on Main Street. We're hoping to kind of wrap up this work and bring it to the council here yet this winter, because for a potential project this coming summer, maybe late summer type of thing. Hopefully we can have Maple Grove Days this year.
Right.
Start this project after that. So looking for your input on Main Street.
All right, we'll keep you up to date on that progress. Let's hop back to the holiday theme. Mistletoe and Memories Holiday Guide is out. What can we find inside that guide?
Yeah, so that guide is filled with ideas of things to see, do, eat, shop, all those kinds of things. And I think more than ever, it's really important to support our local businesses here in Maple Grove. We want to see them, come through this pandemic. And, there's been so much, certainly the impact to the restaurants and those kinds of places has been very significant, but also to retailers with all, the online shopping that is occurring. And we, totally understand why people are taking those options. But if you have the chance, we ask you, please support our local businesses. We want to make sure that everybody comes out of this. So.
And another way and reason to get out and support those local businesses, you might see some extra decorations around town. How did these come to be?
Yeah, so we worked with, this was a process led by the Arbor Lakes Business Association, kind of in place of, they normally would have the parade and Santa and all those things that would happen up and down Main Street. And so instead of that, they installed various holiday display elements along Main Street, the fountains, the shops, and the village. There's some murals, window displays, outdoor seasonal decor. And so if you've seen on some of the social media pages for Arbor Lakes, it kind of has a little map of where you can go to find everything. There's some photo ops, that kind of a thing. So just to bring, some little holiday support to the business community out there in Arbor Lakes.
Great. Get out and enjoy some of those displays. Let's hop over to Park and Recs and talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on there. Obviously, the governor made some announcements recently, and that has Park and Recreation jumping to action, thinking what they can do. What is the latest on facility use and even the planning going further into next year?
Yeah, so with youth sports being, back in action as of January 4th, so we've got to get prepared for all those things, not only the ice arenas, but also up at the dome. So they're working on that. In terms of the arena, scheduling that ice usage for the high school hockey and the hockey associations. I think those are going to get back into full swing here, and then opening up some open skate hours as well. The gym opening for open gym hours. Those things are already in place. The studio at the shops. So that's the space that we've leased over at the shops there for some adult fitness and wellness programs. The Dome is open for walkers and joggers right now, 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning, and then 5 to 9 p.m. in the evenings. So lots of things, we're really trying to make sure that if there's a way for us to provide these recreational opportunities, in both in our facilities as well as outdoors, we're really focused on trying to provide those opportunities to the community. So it's kind of been, no different than the business community with restaurants. It's like, we're constantly shifting gears on how can we provide service and access to folks in a safe way. So a lot of work's been done here since that governor's order was issued, and we knew kind of what the new rule book would be, starting, both December 18th and then January 4th, kind of some different dates in there. So check out the website for kind of where things are at if you're interested in getting out and using something. But lot of things opening back up.
Yeah, a lot going on. And a neat note here, 250 modified winter programs can be registered for, or you can talk about right now. So there's a lot going on. You just have to maybe search a little extra for it rather than normal. Let's move to the ice. We talked a little bit about the ice. Let's go outdoors first. How are things going at the natural ice rinks? A little iffy.
Not smashingly. Usually we would have a lot more, colder weather leading up into these holiday weeks. It's typically we try to get those outdoor rinks open the weekend before the week of Christmas. And, yesterday, what was it, 44 degrees? So that isn't helping us out. Now we're sitting here in the snow, so we're still working on it. I know they had started flooding some key rink areas. So I think just keep an eye on the website for what's going to happen there. Once we get those rinks up and open, the warming houses won't be open, but we will have some additional outdoor seating, and then probably some porta potties in and around there to help make that work. So stay tuned on that one. I think this rain that fell at the front end of the snow probably didn't help us out a lot. We're going to get the deep freeze, tonight into tomorrow. So hopefully we can keep flooding those rinks.
Sounds good. And then Central Park, yes, we talked about that last time, that it was a very popular place and you maybe had to make a few modifications. How did that go?
Yeah, so we've got a registration system now. You have to sign up for a time to go use the loop. We are, once for a registration slot, once somebody hasn't shown up for their time for 30 minutes, that gets freed up. And so anybody who walks up can come use that. We are going to be adding the skate rental here. We hadn't opened that up right away. So we're going to be doing that skate rental. Great. And that skate loop is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And the restrooms are open there. We do have a lot of general park users, with the playground. Snow's going to not make that as accessible now, but we do have a lot of walkers and that kind of thing. So those restrooms are open there, but not kind of the chalet gathering area. So check that out, and you can register for a time to skate at the loop.
Let's finish up today with a few final safety notes for residents. The first has to do with ice, but a different type of ice out on some of the lakes around the city. What are you seeing? What should residents know?
Yeah, I think the ice situation's gotten a little bit better, but I think still a lot of caution out there.
Yeah.
I know the Arbor Lakes here outside the government center, there's open water out there this morning. I think those warm temperatures have really done a number on that. So just, we had a couple of really close calls where we had people go through some out on Weaver, and then we had a kind of a backyard pond situation a couple Friday nights ago. So just really keep in mind that got to be mindful of what those ice thicknesses are and is it safe to be out there kind of a thing. So making sure that's on your mind. And then we're just experiencing, some vehicle theft issues. Typically this tends to be a bigger issue in the summer, but we are seeing it this time of year. So, and a lot of times it's, people leaving a car running to warm up a car, that kind of thing. I'm just going to run in quick and take care of this, or even taking in your driveway. These are crimes of opportunity. And so we really just encourage people to take that extra step. Don't leave the car running with the keys in it, with the doors open, sitting anywhere. You've seen the news stories and they can be pretty tragic, what can happen, but just make sure you're shutting those garage doors, locking the service doors, taking the keys out of the cars. locking the cars if they're sitting outside. So
great safety reminders. Well, Heidi, thank you very much again for the update here. A lot went on at that council
welcome.
meeting and always a lot going on in the city. Let's leave you with information about the next meeting. It will be January 4th. You see the website, maplegrovemn.gov. Again, a lot of information on the website about those park and recreation programs we talked about and everything else happening in the city. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for being with us.